I feel like his bottom teeth, they're a little janky. They're a little jumbled up. Uh, yeah, so you can see a little bit there. Oh, yeah. You guys see that? Ooh, that's rough. I mean, what is going on there? I guess what you need to understand is that he's they're meaning to they're meaning to say that all these things are bad, that all this stuff is bad. You're supposed to just take for granted that all this stuff that they said is bad, which is kind of why they're not going to win, which is kind of why they're going to lose because um like even angry weirdo Baptists have more of a future than Lesbycast. Like I feel like they probably see some tweet or like they see like Christian nationalism gain some significant achievement some way or another, like get more popular, or maybe one of our guys is like interviewed on some big podcast or something, and that it ticks them off, right? So they have to go and put in work. I just think it's so stupid. Like post mill has zero to do with Christian nationalism. Your eschatology is irrelevant unless it's dispensational. Marginal scholars, like what does that mean? Like if you're a scholar and you're not heralded in the OPC or the PCA, does that make you marginal scholar? Um, like what kind of arrogant pride is that? Like right off the rip, you could just sense this pharisaical arrogancy. It's just so off-putting and so disgusting. It's like, again, like they're just shooting themselves in the foot. Like yeah, I think. Well, I'm gonna say this anyway. This part right here where it says moral panickers. So unfortunately, like you know, all I can do is read into this. But if I were to read into that, moral panickers, I mean, I guess the idea is that they're people that are panicking about the current state of our nation's morality, that they're complaining, they're flailing their arms, they're speaking out like, hey, things are bad, you know, stuff's really bad right now, whatever. I mean, and you gotta wonder, like, what world do you live in where you don't see the issues that we're up against? um I think this is just very typical of boomers and older folks. Like they haven't recognized the shifting of the times, and they're just steeped in it. That it's just like it's happened all around them, because I mean they're the ones really that like produced it. They're the ones who allowed it, you know, enabled it to come to being. So maybe they just don't. Maybe the reason they think that there's no moral things to panic about is because this is what they want. They want society to be the way that it is. They want our society to be this way. But for younger generation that doesn't have this toxic concept of free sex and free liberty for everybody, or whatever these morons are advocating, we're looking at the state of things and we're thinking, wow, like this is like, you know, like I mean, I'm going to church, I'm trying to, you know, walk in the Lord and be sanctified and find, you know, my morality. And all this degeneracy around me is really an interference. It's a hindrance. It's distraction. It's disgusting. It's there are temptations. There's offenses. Like the amount of offense. Like I can't fathom how you can just not just be at least offended. But I think that for these guys, when they see immorality, they're not offended. They're proud that they live in a nation that protects that immorality. That's what they want. They want a protection for idolatry, for false religion. That is what their idea of freedom of religion really means. It means protection and freedom for anything goes. And to be honest with you, this moral panickers, you can kind of just say it really just runs right into the fascist curious. I mean, we're looking at the moral degeneracy and we're thinking like, what's an answer? What's a solution? Is there a final solution here? We don't know. And that's also part of this aspect. So these all kind of run together. Believe it or not. And then and this aspect here is really just this is where some answers are starting to fall into place. Like we're actually going to finally come up with a goal. We have a goal here. We have a goal to rid our nation of all the foreign influence, degeneracy, filth. Do you know these guys, these foreigners, they park on the opposite side of the road. That there's they park with their car facing the wrong way. So they'll be driving down the road, and then instead of parking to the curb that's to the right of them, which is the right side of the road, which is the road side of the road you're supposed to drive on, they will go across the road and park on the other side because it's their house. So instead of turning around and parking the right way or coming around in the street the other way, it's they'll just park the opposite way. Who does I noticed that this is a recurring thing. I'm like, oh, are they just maybe they're trying to jump a car, or maybe they just pull it up real quick for a change? No, this is literally just do it. They don't think there's anything wrong with it. They don't think there's any issue with it. It's just what they do. They just do it. They don't So if you're in a neighborhood and you see cars parked the opposite way on the street, no, they're foreigners. So anyway, we want to get rid of all that. I already caught him into the angry weirdo Baptist. I actually don't really know exactly who they're talking about here. Oh, he's talking about Defiant Baptist. But he's chimping out. This is all just some crybaby, effeminate, eating his chicken nuggets, McDonald's, and his breasts are just pulsating feminine juices into his veins. So he's just enthralled right now, probably. So, it's really just so sad. What if it is me? True. So I was watching this interview from Grace at the Gates on Christian nationalism and concerns in PCA with Lesbycast. What's his name? Brad Isbell. And I gotta say, one of the things he said that I just found so unfortunate and disgusting and disturbing was basically that if these Christian nationalists come into your churches and they start converting your members and you want to teach against it, then you may end up losing your members because they've been converted and now you're teaching against it, and then they're like, okay, well, I'm out of here. And so essentially what he says is this this is a problem because you're gonna lose money. You're gonna lose tithe money. So basically, Brad Isbell's concern about Christian nationalism is that he can't teach against it, or he can't be against it without losing money.
There aren't a lot of Reformed churches. So if you fancy yourself to be Reformed, the only church you may have to go to is a PCA church or an OPC church in many parts of the country. And they're bringing the baggage in with them. And think about this. The reason I'm not just concerned about the PCA here is that my church, and I think your church was a decent size there in North Carolina. You were able to pay the bills. You had enough money to keep going. My church is the same way. Generous givers, medium size, very, very stable. But imagine being the pastor of a 50-member OPC church, and they're just barely taking enough money in to pay you about half what the average PCA pastor makes. And PCA pastors make pretty good money. About 100, and I think the average in the South is about $135,000 a year. There aren't many OPC or ARP pastors making that money. But what I'm saying is, there's churches that are on the edge, and all of a sudden 3 families come in, and they all espouse this. If they start causing problems, what sort of challenge is disciplining them, or running them off, or just making them angry? I mean, there are going to be people that look at you like, we can't lose these people. We can't turn anybody away. We can't declare anybody outside the pale. My church is fine. Your church would have been fine in that situation, but there are a lot that are not.
And I'm just curious what other things he won't preach against, because he's worried about losing money. But another thing I realized, like, through this whole interview, he's quite fidgety and quite twitchy. And I want to just speed this up a little bit and see if we can't see it in a sped up motion. You probably have noticed immediately what I'm talking about. Just watch Brad Isbell here. Notice Brad Isbell versus the interviewee, like the interviewer. Like, the amount of twitching that Brad is doing comparatively is like insane. He's going like this. He's touching his neck. He's rubbing his nose and mouth, and he's constantly rubbing around. And the other thing I noticed is, I feel like there's something going on with his teeth. And yeah, I know I'm making a lot of pulling out a lot of things physical or whatever but this is important because this adds to the interest in his fidgeting. I can't see it there, but I feel like his bottom teeth, they're a little janky, they're a little jumbled up. Yeah, so you can see a little bit there. Oh, yeah. You guys see that? Let me just pull this in here. Ooh, that's rough. I mean, what is going on there? I'm wondering what's going on there. You got a lot of fidgeting, and you got this interesting teeth situation. Guys, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like mood swings, insomnia, suppressed appetite, aggressive or violent behavior, hallucinations, psychosis. Yes, crack users are very fidgety. Yes, smoking crack cocaine frequently causes severe dental damage, often called crack mouth. That's what I feel like I'm seeing. What I feel like I'm noticing is crack mouth. I don't know. I mean, what do I know? I'm just an online, Christian nationalist. What do I know? man, maybe Brad needs take a chill pill, or maybe just lay off all the drugs. But yeah, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe he's getting cracked out, and he's hitting the Biden pipe, and it just spurs him to tweet out just absolutely ridiculous garbage like this. I don't know. If someone's around him, you might want to reach out to him, because I feel like he might be something going on. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just a guy. It's just the internet. It's not real life. It doesn't translate.